The type of scaffolding that is most effective from a safety and erection point of view will depend on the specific requirements of the project. Some factors to consider when selecting the type of scaffolding include: number one, the type of work to be performed. Different types of scaffolding are better suited to different types of work. For example, if the work involves heavy loads or requires workers to access high elevations, a stronger and more robust scaffold may be needed. Number two, the duration of the work. If the work will be performed over an extended period of time, a scaffold that is easy to erect and dismantle may be more convenient. Number three, the location of the work. If the work will be performed in a confined space or in an area with limited access, a scaffold that can be easily moved or reconfigured may be the more practical or best option. Number four, the load bearing capacity of the scaffold. It is important to select a scaffold that is capable of supporting the anticipated loads, including the weight of workers, materials, and the equipment. Number five, the stability of the scaffold. The scaffold should be designed to be stable and resistant to wind and other environmental factors. And number six, the ease of use. A scaffold that is easy to use and requires minimal training may be more convenient for workers. Whenever you are going to choose the scaffold, you need to consider at least these 6 points. This will help you to select the right type of equipment, right type of, right class of scaffolding to, to carry out the job, to complete the task safely. Some common types of scaffolding, including frame scaffolding, tube and coupler scaffolding, and system scaffolding. It is important to carefully evaluate the specific needs of the project and choose the type of scaffolding that is best suited to those needs. Dear friends and fellows, until now we have learned what is scaffolding, how many types of scaffolding, what are the different classes or classifications of scaffolding, what are the basic safety requirements to erect, disassemble, or alter a scaffolding, what are the major hazards that may lead to a potential workplace incident, scaffolding collapse, scaffold failure, and lastly, we were able to know what are the key factors when we are going to choose or select a scaffolding. Let us understand now what are the responsibilities of a scaffolding supervisor. If you are acting as a scaffolding supervisor, what you have to do to prevent a scaffolding incident, to prevent scaffolding collapse, to avoid scaffold failure. If you are watching for the first time, kindly subscribe it and press the bell icon for all future notifications. And if you find the video informative, then like, comment, and share it with your friends and fellows. A scaffolding supervisor is responsible for overseeing the erection, alteration, and dismantling of scaffolding on a construction site. In this training session, I'll highlight 20 major duties or responsibilities that a scaffolding supervisor might be responsible for when starting the erection of scaffold on site. Let us start. Number one, reviewing the project plans and specifications to understand the scope of work, and the requirements for the scaffold. Most important point, and this should be done by a scaffolding supervisor in charge, not by scaffolding erectors. Number two, identifying the materials and equipment that will be needed for the scaffold erection. Number three, developing a safety plan for the scaffold erection, including identifying potential hazards and determining the necessary precautions. Number four, ensuring that workers involved in the scaffold erection have the necessary training, experience, and qualifications. Number five, coordinating with other members of the construction team to ensure that the scaffold erection doesn't interfere with other activities on the site. Number six, inspecting the site to ensure that it is suitable for the scaffold erection, including checking for any potential hazards, such as overhead power lines. Number seven, obtaining any necessary permits or approvals for the scaffold erection. Number eight, setting up a secure and organized work area for the scaffold erection. Number nine, ensuring that all materials and equipment are in good condition and ready for use. Number 10, assigning tasks to workers and overseeing the scaffold erection process. Dear friends and fellows, we are discussing about the roles and responsibilities of a scaffolding supervisor, scaffolding in charge. Scaffolding supervisor duty number 11, ensuring that the scaffold is erected in accordance with the project plans and specifications. In other words, as per the drawing, as per the project layout, as well as any applicable safety regulations. Number 12, inspecting the scaffolding during and after the erection process to ensure that it is safe and meets the required standards. Number 13, providing guidance and instruction to workers as needed. Number 14, managing and tracking the progress of the scaffold erection. Number 15, maintaining accurate records of the scaffold erection process. Number 16, coordinating with the site manager to ensure that the scaffold erection is completed on schedule. Number 17, responding to any issues or problems that arise during the scaffold erection process. Number 18, ensuring that all workers on site are aware of and follow the safety procedures for the scaffold erection. Number 19, conducting regular safety inspections of the scaffold. And number 20, taking corrective action as needed to address any safety issues or the technical matters. You can make a checklist, and once you are going on site, you are the foreman or supervisor. You can ensure these 20 points. If you will write on a paper and the paper is with you, you are on site, you can tick mark when you are inspecting the scaffold one by one. It will give you a better, quick overview how you can manage your work safely. Dear friends and fellows, you are watching Safety First Life, and today we are discussing about scaffolding safety. We have already discussed what are the roles and responsibilities of a scaffolding supervisor. Let us discuss now. If you are a site HSC officer, site safety practitioners, what you will do, how you will inspect a scaffolding structure. As a site safety officer, HSC practitioners, you can inspect a scaffolding structure to ensure that it is safe and in good working condition. Here are 15 examples of what you should look for and how you can make an effective scaffolding inspection. Point number one, review the scaffold design and the project plans to understand the intended use and load capacity of the scaffold. Number two, check the base of the scaffold to ensure that it is on stable, level ground and that it is secured to the building or structure as required. Number three, inspect the standards, ledgers, and transoms to ensure that they are straight and free from damage. Number four, check the braces and ties to ensure that they are properly secured and in good condition. Number five, inspect the platform to ensure that it is in good condition and is capable of supporting the anticipated loads. Point number six, check the guardrails and toe boards to ensure that they are properly installed and in good working condition. Number seven, check the ladders and other means of access to the platform to ensure that they are in good condition and provide safe access. Number eight, look for any loose or damaged components and repair or replace them as necessary. Number nine, ensure that the scaffold is properly labeled with the appropriate tags, scuff tags, for example, green tags for safe to use, red tags for unsafe, etc. Number 10, check for any potential hazards such as overhead power lines or unstable ground and take appropriate precautions. We are talking about the roles and responsibilities of a safety practitioner when he is on site and going to inspect a scaffolding structure. Number 11, ensure that the scaffold is being used for its intended purpose and is not overloaded. Number 12, check that the scaffold is being assembled, used, and dismantled in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions, guidelines, and recommendations, or any other applicable safety regulations. Number 13, observe workers using the scaffold to ensure that they are using it safely and following proper procedures. No shortcuts. Number 14, keep records of the scaffold inspection, including any issues or problems that are identified and any corrective actions taken are needed. And number 15, follow up on any issues or problems identified during the inspection to ensure that they are addressed and resolved in a timely manner. As a safety practitioner, you are responsible. Project team, construction management always give importance to the reports of safety practitioners. If you are aware of your responsibilities, you can do it effectively and efficiently. But the most important point is do it timely. You need to identify potential hazards. You need to report these hazards immediately until it will convert to a workplace scaffold incident. After discussing the duties of safety practitioner when he or she is inspecting a scaffolding structure, let us discuss now the safety controls, how we can prevent, how we can avoid scaffolding collapses, incidents, or workplace accidents. Scaffolding collapses and accidents can be serious and potentially life threatening events that can cause serious injuries or fatalities to workers. Here are 20 safety controls that can help to prevent scaffolding collapses and accidents. Let us start one by one. Number one, use a competent person to design, supervise, and oversee the scaffolding erection, alteration, and dismantling. Key point, scaffold is a high risk activity. and it should be planned, designed, supervised, and overseen by a competent person. Competent person means a person with relevant qualifications, skills, experience, and motivation. Number two, follow the manufacturer's instructions and any applicable safety regulations when erecting, altering, or dismantling the scaffold. Number three, ensure that the scaffold is assembled on stable, level ground and that it is properly secured to the building or any structure. Number four, use only compatible components when assembling the scaffold and don't use damaged or defective components. Number five, use the scaffold only for its intended purpose and don't exceed its maximum load bearing capacity. Number six, use adequate braces and ties to secure the scaffold and ensure that they are in good working condition. Number seven, install guardrails and toe boards to protect workers from falls. Number eight, provide safe and easy access to the scaffold using ladders or other means of access and ensure that there are enough access points to allow workers to safely enter and exit the scaffold. Number nine, store materials and equipment correctly on the scaffold to prevent them from falling or obstructing the working area. Number 10, use personal protective equipment as required, including hard hats, safety glasses, and fall protection equipment. Number 11, use tools and equipment correctly following the manufacturer's instructions and any applicable safety regulations. Number 12, ensure that the scaffold is properly illuminated to allow workers to see clearly. Number 13, regularly inspect the scaffold to identify and address any issues or problems that may compromise its stability. Number 14, use scuff tags to provide information about the scaffold's conditions and use and follow the guidelines for their use. Number 15, provide workers with training on the correct use of the scaffold, including how to identify and report potential hazards. Number 16, establish and enforce safe work practices for workers using the scaffold, including rules for moving materials and equipment. Number 17, post warning signs around the scaffold to alert workers to potential hazards. Number 18, use barriers or other means of segregation to prevent unauthorized access to the scaffold. Number 19, have a plan in place to evacuate workers from the scaffold in the event of an emergency situation. And number 20, have a first aid kit readily available with qualified, certified, competent first aiders in the case if there is an incident and there are injuries due to scaffold collapse or scaffold failure. If you will memorize these 20 important points, you can prevent scaffold collapse, incidents, or accidents. Or if there is an incident, you can even minimize the consequences of that particular incident or collapse. This is a long safety training video, but in this step, I'll make a quick and sharp overview of the whole scaffolding safety. Dear friends and fellows, scaffolding is a temporary structure used to support workers and materials during construction, maintenance, or repair work. It is an essential part of many construction projects as it allows workers to reach heights and access areas that would otherwise be difficult to reach. However, scaffolding also poses a number of hazards, and it is important to workers to be aware of these hazards and take appropriate precautions to ensure their safety. One of the most common hazards associated with scaffolding is the risk of falls. Workers who are working at heights are at risk of falling if they lose their balance or if the scaffolding collapses. To prevent falls, workers should use fall protection equipment such as guardrails, safety nuts, and personal fall arrest systems. They should also be sure to secure loose clothing and tie back long hair to prevent them from getting caught in the scaffolding. Another hazard associated with scaffolding is the risk of being struck by falling objects. Workers should be aware of their surroundings and watch for falling debris, particularly when working near the top of the scaffolding, to reduce the risk of being struck by falling objects. Workers should use toe boards, screens, and other barriers to prevent materials from falling off the scaffolding. You are watching Safety First Life, and we are talking about scaffolding safety. Scaffolding can also prevent the risk of electrical shock if it is set up near power lines or other electrical sources. To prevent electrical shocks, workers should be sure to stay at least 10 feet away from power lines and use non conductive materials to set up the scaffolding. They should also be sure to turn off any electrical power sources before working on or near the scaffolding. Other hazards associated with scaffolding include the risk of being struck by moving vehicles or equipment, the risk of slipping and falling on wet or uneven surfaces, and the risk of being injured by collapsing or unstable scaffolding. To prevent these hazards, workers should be sure to follow proper scaffolding safety procedures and use caution when working on or near the scaffolding. In conclusion, scaffolding is an essential part of many construction projects, but it also poses a number of hazards. To ensure the safety of workers, it is important to be aware of these hazards and take appropriate precautions, such as using fall protection equipment, watching for falling debris, staying clear of electrical sources, and following proper scaffolding safety procedures. After undergoing a detailed scaffolding safety training, I hope your concept about scaffolding safety, scaffolding hazards, scaffolding safety controls, scaffolding types, scaffolding classifications, and role as a scaffolding in charge, supervisor, or if you are acting as a health and safety practitioner, your duties, your responsibilities, and your role is well clear to you. And now, if you will apply your knowledge, skills right on time with devotion and dedication, efficiently and effectively, you can manage your work safely and you can act as an effective and essential part of your organization because you are skilled, you are knowledgeable, you are competent, and you know how to do and what to do whenever you are on site and there is a scaffolding activity, either it is erection, dismantling, or alteration. And that's it. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe. Wish to see you soon with a new HSC tutorial. Until then, take care, good luck, and goodbye.